Salutations, respected viewers. This is George from Ireland. So, this video is about what's happening about Brexit, because just yesterday, the House of Commons voted on the withdrawal agreement. That's Theresa May's plan that she'd hammered out with the European Union for the United Kingdom to leave the EU and what the arrangements would be on commerce and other issues. Anyway, it was universally expected that this would be defeated, but the result was even worse than most had predicted. I thought she's going to lose by about 200. She lost by 230, which is the heaviest defeat for a government in almost a century. But people voted no for two different reasons. Most of them were Remainers, but a few of them were hard Brexiteers. So some of them voting no because they actually want to stay in the European Union, and some of them voting no because they think this agreement is unacceptable and it would be better to leave without any agreement. So that's that. Now, some of those who voted no, or really Remainers, are saying, well, we don't like the terms of this particular deal, but the European Union have said that is the final deal, there'll be no renegotiation. Last month, when Theresa May went back to Brussels to try and gain a few concessions, she got some assurances, nothing solid. So there's very little movement. But if it really is no deal, then the European Union might, at the last minute, make a few real concessions, because it will negatively impact on the EU as well if the United Kingdom leaves without an agreement, particularly hit us in the Republic of Ireland. Thought it would wipe 7% off our economy. So Theresa May, she tried to scare the hard Brexiteers in her party by saying if her motion was defeated, that would not lead to a hard Brexit. It would cause the United Kingdom to stay in the European Union, which the hard Brexiteers are determined to avoid. She might be right. That scaremongering tactic, it might not just be a trick. Anyway, this vote is a humiliation for Theresa May, and she's good at dealing with it because she's had plenty of practice. So even though she was sure she was going to be defeated, she felt she couldn't dodge the issue a second time. Remember, she ducked the vote in December. They were going towards it. It was clear that she's going to be heavily defeated, so she postponed in the hope of winning over a few more people. But this defeat, well, it's difficult to say. Would have postponing it a second time, would that have been less undermining of her authority than such a huge defeat? The defeat is so big, I suppose it actually would have been less harmful to delay it a second time. So a motion of no confidence is being tabled by Jeremy Corbyn, the leader of Her Majesty's loyal opposition. So the Labour Party is determined to force Theresa May to resign, force a general election. However, it's widely anticipated that Theresa May will survive, because although it's a minority government, they got the confidence and supply agreement with the Democratic Unionist Party. Now, the DUP were unhappy with this withdrawal agreement because it, connects them too much to the European Union. It seems to treat Northern Ireland differently from the rest of the UK, but Northern Ireland's been treated differently from the rest of the UK a lot for almost 100 years. But the DUP have no wish to see Jeremy Corbyn become Prime Minister because he's deeply sympathetic to their foes, to Sinn Féin. However, will she survive? It's not a foregone conclusion, because a few Tories, the real hardline Remainers, might vote against her, the Anna Soubry's, the Ken Clarks of this world, thinking they've got to put country above party. For them, saving the United Kingdom's position in the EU is top priority, and they'd have to do it. Or they might just say there's no other way forward. It's a political logjam. So Theresa May's days are numbered. Brexit is due to take place on 29th of March this year, and it's hard to see her staying Prime Minister much longer than that. So if her own party don't get a chance to vote her out again until December this year, she won't be around by then, the cabinet could all withdraw support. And they might say, we like you, Theresa May, you struggled gallantly, but it's just not happening. However, as she said, changing the Prime Minister will not help. And I think that is valid. How would a new Premier sort this out? The situation would be the same. And it would just waste time. It would just be a distraction from the substantive issue. So I think there's going to be another general election in February. I've been saying this for some time. I don't see any other way forward from this traffic jam. So people are talking about suspending the Article 50 notice, as in that's when the United Kingdom signalled its intention to the European Union to withdraw from the EU. I'm not sure if the EU has to accept that, has to give the UK more time, but all that will do will be to protract the uncertainty. And sterling's taken a hit, as everyone forecast. And obviously, well, I blame the Remainers. The decision was made to leave the EU, all right? So staying in the EU is no longer an option. The only question is leaving with an agreement or not. The agreement was put forward, not very satisfactory, but do we accept it or not? So the whole issue would have been done and dusted last month. So she'd been undermined by extremist Remainers, including a few in her own party. There are people of goodwill in the European Union who are prepared to offer a decent deal. There were others who weren't, who were malevolent, others who were petrified of Brexit, of it being a tremendous success, and of other EU states emulating what the UK did, wanted to penalise the UK. So the European Court of Justice said that the United Kingdom can unilaterally cancel Brexit. London could say, actually, we changed our mind, we don't want to leave. And the EU will immediately accept that, and the UK can stay on the current terms, which is something that the Remainers are praying for. I think they could do that. There are reasonable Remainers, or people like Theresa May, who campaign for Remain. Okay, we lost. We must implement the will of the people, because that's what a referendum is there for. And I know Parliament isn't legally compelled to legislate on that basis, but that's the only other reason they're ever held. And the results have always been respected in the United Kingdom. And there are people like James O'Brien saying, oh, it's not the will of the people just because they lost, except when the EU wins, it always is the will of the people. Come on. And remember that Remain had so many huge advantages, had most of the media, the civil service, taxpayers' money spent on their behalf, just besides the EU, propagandizing and indoctrinating people with public funds for decades. They had most of the politicians, most of the corporations, most of the commentariat, most of the academics, because the EU was very generous in dispersing taxpayers' money to all these opinion formers, and still they lost despite this enormous inbuilt advantage. So there's an 11th hour attempt to stop Brexit, and it's gathering momentum, and I think it will succeed, unfortunately.